You can draw this in PROCREATE. You can draw this isometric bedroom in PROCREATE. Yes, it's time for another isometric drawing. During this easy PROCREATE isometric drawing tutorial, I will guide you through every single step. So even if you don't have any experience with PROCREATE or with drawing, by following my steps, you should be able to create this. We'll start off with a rough sketch, then we'll create our line art, then we'll add the colors, and finally we'll add lighting effects. I'm sure that once you have reached the end of this tutorial, you will feel super proud of yourself and you'll just have to share your isometric bedroom. If you do, and if you are sharing it on Instagram, then do be sure to tag me in the image, not just in the description, because that way I will be able to find your isometric room and perhaps we will see it in the next video, just like these fantastic results from my friends at Patreon. There you will find even more isometric drawing tutorials, but also a lot of other PROCREATE tutorials. I have more than 100 there, ranging from beginner level to more advanced levels. For this tutorial, we are working on a canvas that is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. I have my color profile set to sRGB, and I have linked a color palette in the description in case you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using during this tutorial. We are going to spend quite some time together, so perhaps it's time to grab a drink, grab some bites, and then if you are all set, let's get started. The first thing we'll do is turn on the isometric drawing grid. To do that, we need to go to the wrench here at the top, then to canvas, and then turn on drawing guide. Then go to edit drawing guide, and here at the bottom, turn it to isometric. Now the grid size should be at 90 pixels. You can leave the thickness alone, and you could actually turn up the opacity a little bit if you like, so you can easily see all the lines. And if you like, you could change the color of the lines. For instance, to a nice pink, or a green, or a blue, whatever you like. I'm going to go for a bit of blue. And perhaps I'll turn up the opacity even more so that I'm sure that you will be able to see the lines on the video. You probably don't need to turn it up that much yourself. Let's just tap done. And now first we are going to create our sketch. And I would like to use the 6B pencil, which is part of the sketching brushes, which are already in PROCREATE. And for the color, you can just grab a dark color, like a dark gray, or you can actually use any color you like. I'll go for a gray. And the opacity of the brush is at 100% and the size is at 40%. And now to make sure that all our strokes will only follow the isometric grid, we need to go to the layer menu, tap the layer, and turn on drawing assist. Now below the layer name, you will see that it's assisted. And that means that all our lines will follow the grid. And now we are going to start a bit off center. So that will be here. Then we'll go up a little bit to here. So this little spot. And then we'll go 10 steps in this direction. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this should be the line. Then we'll go up 11 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we need to take 10 steps in this direction again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we'll take 10 steps in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we can go in this direction again with 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we can connect these two. Then over here, we'll go down 10 steps. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we'll make a line in both directions like this. And over here, we'll go up 1 step. And then back to the corners. So now our floor has some thickness. Then we'll go over here. We'll take 3 steps from this corner. 1, 2, 3. Then we'll go up 10 steps and then connect this corner. Then we'll go in this direction, 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll go back to this edge. Then we'll do the same over here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go upward. Now we'll add an extra edge over here. We'll go down just a little bit and then back to this corner. And we'll do the same on the other side. Then over here, we'll move outward 3 blocks. So that's 1, 2, 3. And we'll also extend this line 1, 2, 3, and then connect here. And this line will be for our balcony. But first, let's create a doorway. Let's move a little bit to the right from this part here. So over here, we'll go upward until we are 3 blocks from the top. Then we'll go to the side to about here. You don't have to count exactly here. Then we'll make a line like this to give it some volume, our wall. Then move up. Then right next to it, we'll make a window. So we need a little bit of space. So about here, go for a window. Mine is about 4 blocks high. Then we'll go to the right to about here. Then we'll move downward and close our shape like this. Then again, we'll make a little line like this, then upward and in this direction as well. We'll do that over here as well for our doorway. And now you can see that this doorway and our window, it has volume. That wall has volume, but our outer wall doesn't have that yet. So let's give our outer wall some volume as well. So we'll move a little bit to the left. We'll make a line like this, connect it here. Then we'll move to this corner and to the outer corner like this. And we can make it a little bit bigger. Everything will be a little bit bigger like this. Then for our balcony, we need to create this line. Let's just go through the wall like this. We can make this a little bit thicker. That's where we'll see it. Then for our balcony, we'll make a line going up to about here. So that's halfway this block. Then we'll make a line in this direction. And let's create our corner of the balcony about here. So we'll make an upward line and then go in this direction. Over here, we'll also connect it to the wall like this. And then we'll extend this line a little bit, just like this. Then we'll move upward a little bit to that line and back to the wall. Then over here, we'll create a line like this. And here we'll create an extra line as well, to about here. And then we'll go in the other direction again, like this. Over here, we need an upward line so that we can find the corner and then move in this direction. And add a line here. So now there's that nice edge on top of the glass of our balcony. We can make these lines a little bit thicker to make them more pronounced. So we have that edge on top. We have all our walls. Now let me erase some parts that we don't need. Let's first turn off Drawing Assist. So tap the layer, turn off Drawing Assist. And then when you have your brush or 6B pencil, you can tap and hold the eraser to make it switch to the 6B pencil as well. And then for instance, let's go over these walls. That's where we won't see that balcony. So this is just to make it less confusing for ourselves, to clean it up a little bit, so that later when we create our line art, we won't make any mistakes. We need to erase this. Over here, we need to erase this line. Just go over there. We can erase this as well. And over here, we can erase this line. over here, we'll erase this little line. And what I'd like to do now is round the corners here, just to give our isometric room a more soft, rounded, gentle look. And it's also just a good opportunity to show you how you can make these rounded forms. So what we'll do is we'll grab our brush again. You need to make sure that drawing assist is turned off. And we are going to make a rounded corner here. We'll start here at this block, and then we'll make a rounded shape towards that other corner. You see, like this. And then we'll do the same over here. So we'll start here and end there. Just like with the other one, make a rounded shape. And then once you have that, you can use the eraser to erase this middle part and that outer part. And now you have a rounded corner that follows that isometric grid as well. And we can do the same over here. Grab the brush. This time you only need to do it once. So make a rounded shape like this. And then grab the eraser and remove that corner. And this gives a nice extra touch to your room. Next up, we are going to sketch the furniture. We're going to do that on a new layer, so go to your layer menu, tap the plus, and then tap the layer and turn on drawing assist again. We're still using the 6B pencil. And let's first sketch in a bed. Let's make it 2 blocks high, so 1, 2. Make a line in this direction until you are almost at the door. Then move downward to here. And then back in this direction to about here. And then we'll go back. Now you really don't have to continue counting blocks. You can just eyeball it. Then we'll make an extra line about here to the corner. Then here we'll move up and connect this corner as well. Then we'll move from this corner here in this direction and from this corner as well. And over here, you can also make a line. So now we have a very rough shape for our bed. Let's also create some extra space inside that bed here. So we'll make an extra line, just like this. And with a line in this direction. But you can't really see it because it's the same place as the wall. Then we'll create some shelves. Let's start here. Make a line towards the corner. And then in this direction. Then let's go down, make a little line like this so that we can use that as a guide. From this corner, we'll go back to here. Go downward a little bit and make an extra line. Then we'll create an extra shelf. We'll start here, make a line towards the wall, and a line like this and this. Then go downward a little bit and make an extra line. Then for another shelf, we'll move downward again to about here, make a line like this, go back towards the wall and a line like this, move downward a little bit and create a line like this. Now I do feel like they might be a little bit close to our bed. We can easily fix that by going to the selection tool, set it to freehand, make sure that color fill is not turned on, and then make a selection of the shelves like this. Then go to the move and transform tool, that's the arrow. Then set it to uniform or freeform. Use snapping over here and then just move it up a little bit. Let's say to about here. Then grab the brush again and extend this line here. Now over here we'll create a little desk. Let's create a line over here. Then we'll go 2 blocks in this direction. Then we'll go downward. Here we'll also go 2 blocks to here and then connect these 2 lines. Then we'll make a line in this direction very gently, just as a guide. And then over here we'll move down to that line. Then we'll create an extra line over here, just like this. And then we'll go from here downward like this. Connect these two areas. Then go back towards the wall like this. And also move up here. Over here we'll do the same. We'll go in this direction and then upward like this. And then we'll make another line like this and one over here. So that will be a little drawer. So we have this shape and the shape of our desk. Then over here we'll create a mirror. Let's start here, go upward to about here. Then in this direction to about here, then this direction, and from here we'll move upward until we connect these two lines. Then we'll give it some volume by creating a little line like this. Then in this direction, connect these and downward again and connect these. Now it has some thickness, and then we'll add another rectangle on the inside, so that it has a nice frame. Next, let's make some floorboards. We'll follow the lines in this direction, like this, towards the bed. Then this one. Try to keep about an equal distance, like this, and another one, and another one over here. And then also make these vertical lines here. So these are those planks on the floor. And next I would like to make, well, that thing where you hang your curtains. It should be a line like this, a little bit broader than the window. Then another line on top, like this. Then we need to turn off drawing assist. So go to the layer, tap the layer and turn off drawing assist. And then over here we'll make a little circle. And here we'll make a rounded shape. So that's where we will hang our curtains. Next we are going to add some stuff to our room. You know what, let's lower the opacity of these two layers for, well, let's say to 70% for both. So tap the N, set it to 70, and then make a new layer on top by tapping the plus. First, let's make a little stool here. We are going to make a circle first, so draw a circle, hold your pen in place to make it snap to the quick shape, and then tap one finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle. Then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool, that's the little arrow. Then set it to distort, and you can turn off snapping here. And then align these corners with your isometric grid. So for instance, it could be, well, what's this? 3 by 3. I think that's a little bit big. So I'm going to make it about 2 by 2. Just make sure that it aligns with the grid so that you get the correct perspective. Then we can go to Uniform and move our circle to about here, right where our desk is. Then we are going to duplicate this. So we'll go to the Layer menu, we'll slide to the left, tap Duplicate. Then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool again. We can turn on snapping here at the bottom. And then we can move this down like this. Then we can go back to the brush, and then we can connect these sides so that we get a nice little stool. And then we can grab the eraser to erase this part. Then we can grab the brush again, and we can give it some volume here. We can make a rounded shape, give it some extra touches, perhaps some stitches. And let's also add some extra stuff here on the desk. Oh, for instance, we need a little knob here. Perhaps there's some blush on here. We can make a little oval with some volume. maybe some mascara, shape like this. You can add whatever you like here. Maybe there's a little notebook, just a shape like this. Maybe a sticky note on the wall. Usually, the more stuff you add to a room like this, the better it will look. So you can really go wild. Maybe there's a brush here. Then on the floor, I would like to add a little rug. Do make sure that it follows the grid roughly. You can make it a little bit rounded. It's right underneath our stool here. A rounded shape like this. Connect these two parts, and perhaps it has these lines, it has a pattern. So like this, do let it follow the grid, and maybe it has these fringes. And on this side as well. Then for the bed, well, here's the mattress. We can make it a bit more rounded. And perhaps there's this sheet that is half covering it. And maybe there's an extra blanket on here that is going over the side. Maybe it also has some fringes. Then over here we'll have pillows. So you can make a little shape like this right underneath that plank, that shelf, and another pillow here. Maybe it has some of these stitches. Then we also have our curtains, of course. They are rounded a bit here. And they are in front of the window a little bit. Wavy shape at the bottom, and then back up. Then over here as well, rounded shape here, goes down, wavy shape, moving down. Right here we can add some slippers. These are these oval shapes here. Then with a rounded shape like this. Then for our shelves, we can add some books, for instance. A little rounded shape here, and back up. Another curve, back up. Another curve and back up. And then follow the grid towards the back like this. Perhaps here we have a book lying down. Rounded shape. Follow the grid. And in this direction. And maybe there's another notebook here, or you can add anything. And then here at the top, let's add a plant. First, let's make a little oval for our pot. Go down like this, and then another rounded shape like this. So that's roughly our pot. Then let's make some lines going down. It's a hanging plant with lots of leaves, lots of little round leaves. And over here, first a line, then lots of round little leaves. Just fill that pot. Perhaps another one over here. Then here on the outside, I almost forgot, we need some planks there as well. Let's make this follow the isometric grid. So we'll tab the layer, use drawing assist, and then we'll add some planks here as well. Just in a different direction. So something like this. Then let's turn drawing assist off again. So we'll tap the layer, turn off drawing assist. And then I would like to add well, this little garland. It'll be like a garland with lights, because all balconies need garlands with lights, I think. So just like this, and we'll add lights there later. So right now we have sketched out everything that we need for our isometric room. And if you like, then this is the moment to grab a screenshot to use this as a reference, or you can wait until I have added the line art and screenshot that and use that as a reference. Or you can go wild and add anything you like to your room, of course. Now our next step is to add our clean line art. First, let me turn up the opacity of these sketch layers again. So we'll tab the N for each of these layers. Turn it back up to 100. And then let's pinch these top 3 together. So we have all the furniture and the extra stuff on one layer, and we have one layer with the base of the room. And now for our line art, let's first create line art for this sketch. So then we can actually turn the opacity back down. We'll tap the N. Set it to, you can set it to around 30% or whatever you like, 29. Then create a new layer on top by tapping the plus, and this will be our line art layer. And for our brush, for our line art, you can use any brush you like, of course, but I'm going to go to the inking brushes and use the dry ink brush. This brush has a nice feel, it has a nice little texture, and I think it looks really great for isometric rooms like this. Now for the color for this brush, we are going to use this first color in the color palette. It's a nice dark reddish brown. The opacity of the brush is at 100% and the size is at 5%. And for all the straight lines that you're going to create, you can turn on drawing assist, of course. Except for the corners, when you go over there, you need to turn drawing assist off. So now just go over all of your lines like this. So now I have followed all of the sketch lines, and once you have done that, you can remove or turn off the sketch layer. Just the sketch layer with that base shape, not the sketch layer with all the stuff on it, of course. So we'll delete this one, and then we'll move on to the layer with all the stuff, all the furniture, all the objects. So let's turn that on. Let's tap that. Let's lower the opacity of our base layer just a little bit to 80%. And let's also turn down the opacity of our sketch layer, for instance, to around 30%, but you can really go for whatever you like. And now on a new layer on top of this one, so we'll tap the plus, we are going to follow all of these sketch lines and create a tidy looking line art. Now in some cases, again, you need to turn on drawing assist for straight lines, and in some cases you need to turn that off for all the rounded shapes. And it'll take some time to go over all of these lines, but no worries, just grab another drink, sit back, relax, and trace your sketch, just like this. Now I have traced all the sketch lines except for the curtains. We are going to put those on a separate layer. And you can also see that I have made the bed a little bit longer. You don't have to follow all of the sketch lines exactly. You can change things a little bit or make some refinements. Let me just trace the curtains for now. Then I will turn off the sketch layer so you can take a screenshot and use this as a reference. So let's go to the layer menu, tap the plus, and on this separate layer, we are going to trace the curtains. So I'll just follow, go downward here, make a wavy line. And again, you don't have to follow your sketch exactly, of course. Go downward here, make another wavy line. And then back up. So now our curtains are on a separate layer. Let me turn off the sketch layer with all the stuff. I'll turn the opacity of this layer back up of our base layer. And now we have all our line art. Like I said, this will be the moment to take a little screenshot if you want to use this as a reference. So go ahead. Now that we have all our line art, we can actually remove this sketch layer that we have as well. Let me just delete that. So now we have our base, we have our furniture, and we have the curtains. Now it's time to start coloring. Let's start by changing our background color. We'll tap background color here and pick the second color in the first row. Let's also get rid of that isometric grid. We don't need that anymore. So let's go to the wrench, then to canvas and turn off the drawing guide. Then tap the wrench again. And now we are going to color our base layer. So that's here, our base layer. We are going to tap that layer and turn on reference. Now we can make a new layer by tapping the plus, and we will drag that underneath our base layer. And let's call this base color. Now for the first color, let's grab this one over here, the third color in the first row. And we are going to drag our colors into the shapes. Now you might need to adjust your color drop threshold. When you drag the color into a space, you need to hold it in place and then drag your pen to the left or to the right to adjust the color drop threshold. Don't worry about all the stuff that is colored right now as well. You don't need to worry about that. Actually, to make it more clear, we can turn the furniture and the curtains off. Now we'll also drop this color in this area. Now I need to adjust the threshold again. And we'll also drop it in these areas. We'll drag it in. Then you can tap continue filling and tap here, here, and here. Now when you use color drop like this, sometimes you get some edges that need to be cleaned, especially with a brush like this. Sometimes you get some white areas. You could just go and grab a brush. And for instance, you could go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush or the script brush. Any brush that has a nice clean edge and that is fully opaque. You can use that to go over some areas and make sure that everything is colored. Then for our next color, we are going to grab this fourth color in the first row and we are going to use it for this side. Let's drag it in, then let's tap continue filling and use it over here and over here as well. Now again, clean up any edges that need cleaning if you have to. And then let's move on to the next color, which is the fifth color in the first row. We are going to use that for this area. Then we'll move on and we'll grab this one, which is the sixth color in the first row. We'll use that for the floor and also for these side edges. So drag it in, use continue filling, and then tap here as well. Then tap the brush to get out of the color drop. Then for the next color, use the seventh color in the first row and drag that onto the balcony. And then finally, we'll move to this color, the eighth color in the first row, and we'll use that for that edge. So let's drag it in, use continue filling, and tap in these areas to color everything. And perhaps you'll need to grab the brush and go over some edges just to make sure that everything is colored. All right, now we have colored the base of our house. We will continue. We are going to turn on the furniture layer. And this time we are going to tap this layer and set that to reference. So now the base is no longer used as a reference when filling colors on a separate layer, but now the furniture line art will be used. Again, we'll make a new layer underneath the furniture line art. Let's tap the plus. This layer should be on top of the base layer and underneath the furniture line art. And let's call this furniture color. And I can actually see that I have missed a line over here for our bed. Let's fix that. Now make sure that you're on the furniture color layer. And then let's drop in our first color. Let's start with the first color in the second row. We are going to use that for our desk, for instance. Let's drag it in here. And don't worry about that booklet. Now I do realize that I haven't created any lines for the side of the desk. Let's see, if we turn this off, this base layer, you can see that there's no line here. Now we could either draw a line on our furniture line art layer, or we can just fill this area in a different way. We can go to the S shape ribbon, set it to freehand, and then use color fill. And then we can simply tap in these areas and like this, close it to fill that area. Then tap the S shape ribbon again. Now we can continue filling the areas. Just like this, use continue filling and tap in these areas. I also want to use it for the mirror here and for the planks. But there I'm also missing some lines. So we can just grab the brush and color it in by hand. I'm using the script brush right now, but you can also use the monoline brush. Whatever you like to color in this area. Or of course you could also just make some extra line art. But there are multiple ways to color areas. You can use the color drop, you can use the selection tool, or you can just color in by hand. Now to make sure that you don't ruin any of that texture of that line on the other layer, you can actually also just go back to the inking brushes and use the dry ink brush. And then you can easily go along that edge without ruining that texture. You do need to be tidy, just like this. Of course, we also need to color that other shelf. Let's drag in the color for these areas. And then in some other areas, we can just color by hand, either with the script brush, the monoline brush, or this dry ink brush. Now let's also add some brown here at the top for the soil of this plant. And let's give the pot a different color. We do need a little bit of brown here. And for the pot, let's grab this color over here, the second color in the second row. Let's add some of that purple. Just a little bit, few of these dots, few of these splashes. And then we'll also use this color for this book, this little area. We also want to use it for this pillow, but again, there's a gap here. So first let's make an edge here. And then let's switch back to the script brush under calligraphy to color the rest. Then let's also use it for this blanket and for the stool here. And for this thing. I'm guessing it's blush. And let's also use it for these slippers. Let's drag in a color. You can use continue filling. There. Then for the next color, we're going to grab this red, that third color in the second row. Let's first tap the brush and then let's continue dragging in colors for the book, the pillow, this book, and let's also use it for the knob here and for this mascara, or maybe it's lip gloss. Then next up is this color, the fourth color in the second row. It's a grayish pink, but it'll look a little bit like blue once we drag it in. Now over here, we probably have a little gap, so the color would spill all over. Now what we could do is just create a shape that is closed by just making an outline like this. Just follow these edges. Oops, I went over the line. Okay, so we're making a closed shape here, but we can't just drag into color like you normally would. We first need to turn off reference on this layer. So tap it, turn off reference, then go back here, drag in a color to fill it. Make sure you don't have any gaps, no little light parts, and then go back to that furniture layer and turn reference back on. Then we can go back and we can continue filling shapes like this book over here. Then on to the next color, which is this one, 5th color in the 2nd row. Let's use it for this little post-it note and for this booklet here. And what else do we have? No, I think that's enough. Let's move on and use this color, which is the 6th color in the 2nd row. We'll use it for this book here, and for this little booklet, and for the mattress over here. Then let's move on and use this color, the 7th color in the 1st row. We are going to use that for the bed here. Drag in a color, then use continue filling, and tap these areas to fill the rest. Then we'll use the brush because we have a little gap here, and make sure that you go over some areas so that you don't have those light little specks. Then let's move on. Let's go to this color over here. I want to use that for our little rug here. Let's drag it in like this, then use continue filling and tap this and this area as well. Then we'll move on to this color, the 2nd color in the 3rd row, and then tap this area and this area. And then we'll switch to the 3rd color in the 3rd row, and then we'll tap this and this area. And then for the little fringes, we'll use this red, that 3rd color in the 2nd row. And then again, we can just tap inside these areas. These are very small, so we might need to adjust it a little bit. You might need to go over with a brush to clean it up. But I'll just leave it like this for now. Also, we need to color this brush here. First, let me grab this 5th color again in the 2nd row. Let's use it for this part. And then let's grab this color, 9th color in the 1st row, and use that over here. Then what else do we need to color? We need this thing. Let's use red for that. The 3rd color in the 2nd row, let's tap here and here. And then for our plant, we are going to use this color over here. That's the 7th color in the 2nd row. Let's grab the brush. You know what? Let's set it to that inking brush again, the dry ink brush. And let's just color them all by hand. You know what? Let's do this magically. That's a lot faster. Now all we need to color is the mirror over here. Let's use this color for that, the 8th color in the 2nd row. Let's just drag it in. And now I think we have colored everything. Of course, we also need to color our curtains. They are on that separate layer over here. We have the line art for our curtains. Let's make a layer underneath it. So first tap this one, then tap the plus. Let's name this curtains color. And let's set this top layer to reference. So first tap it, then use reference, then go to the bottom one. Then for the color, let's continue using this color, that 8th color in the 2nd row. Let's drag it in on both sides. And then let's lower the opacity of this layer. So tap the N and set this to 60%. Now that we have all the colors, it's time for the magic part where we are going to add all the lighting effects. First, we are going to add shadows. Let's start by creating a layer on top of our base color layer. So we'll tap the plus, we'll set this layer to clipping mask. So whatever we paint here, it'll only show up on our base colors. And we are going to change the layer blending mode. We'll tap the N and we'll scroll up to multiply, which is great to add shadows. We are going to lower the opacity to 50%. And you know what? Let's name this layer base shadows. And now for our color, we are going to use this one over here, the last color in the 1st row. And for the brush, we are going to use the script brush under calligraphy, or you can use the monoline brush, whichever you feel comfortable with. On the script brush, it gets thicker as you press harder with your brush. Now, I have the opacity set to 100% and the size at 20%. Now first, let's make sure that we turn off reference on this top layer. So tap it, turn off reference, then go back to your base shadows layer. And now we are going to go along this line. And we are going to add a shadow to this side of our room. You can hold your pen in place if you want to use the quick shape to make sure that you get perfectly straight lines. Now once you have the outline, you can drag in the color to fill that area. I have a little gap here, so I couldn't use a reference. Now let's also use this on this area actually for the planks. Let's just go over there, add a little shadow. And there will also be some shadow here on that inside of that, well, of that edge of our balcony. So I'm just coloring this in by hand. You could also use that line art layer set to reference, of course, and just fill this in. And then let's add some shadow. Now let's start over here and add some shadow right underneath that desk, and also some shadow here on the floor and underneath the desk. The stool is casting a shadow. The bed is casting a shadow as well. And there will be some shadow here on the wall. Make sure you don't go over this area. Here there will be some shadow as well. A little bit here. And perhaps a little bit here behind that plant. Let's follow the shape a little bit. Make some rounded shapes. There. This is enough for our base layer. Now let's move on to the furniture color layer. We are going to do the same here. We'll tap the plus for a new layer. We'll set it to clipping mask. We'll tap the N and set this to multiply and lower the opacity to 50%. And let's name this furniture shadows. And now let's add shadow to our furniture. For instance, over here on the side of the desk. Just go over here, add that shadow. Let's also do it for this stool. And the inside here of the desk. Then for our rug, let's add a little shadow line on the side of each of these colors, as if it has some volume, some thickness here. So a little edge. Just along every line. Then we have our bed. This part is in shadow. Just go over here, color it in. The inside of this little like cabinet in the bed is also in shadow a little bit. These slippers are also casting a bit of a shadow. Then perhaps a little bit of a shadow underneath this blanket. The underside of this pillow. Make it a little bit rounded. Bit of a shadow here. And over here we can make a little bit of shadow here, as if this is, well, it's a different type of pillow. It has a little indent there. Then the side of the book here. It's also casting a bit of a shadow. Then over here we have the side of the book, this side of this book, and over here. And you can also add some random dabs to the plan to add some color variation and perhaps some shadow, but it'll add some interest here. Just a few. And then for this side of our mirror, and a little bit of shadow on this side of our blush, a little bit on the desk, a little bit over here. Tiny touches. We also need a shadow here on the wall actually. Let's go back to base shadows and then add a little shadow here and a little bit on this side. And also here underneath our rug, following the fringes a bit. This is going great. I think we have all the shadows. Now we are going to add some highlights, and we'll do that for our furniture layer. We'll do it on top of our furniture shadows layer. We'll tap the plus, and again we'll set this layer to clipping mask. And this time we'll set the layer blending mode to add, which is a great blending mode if you want to add light to your scene. We are going to lower the opacity. We'll set it to 25%. And then for our color, we are going to grab this one over here. That's the 5th color in the 2nd row. And now for instance, we can add a little bit of light to our rug on the opposite side of those shadow lines, and it gives a little bit of volume to this little rug, as if every color is it has a bit of a bump. Let's also light the stool, and we can light the top, and you can see we're painting with just one color, that yellow, but on each object it will look different, just like with the shadows. Add some light here, just a little touch on our desk, a little bit of light here and here, a little bit on our sticky note. We can lighten the fronts of these shelves, and using a layer blending mode like this, it makes it easy to add color variety to your illustration and to easily add light without having to give it too much thought. You just use one color to add all your lights, and it'll look different on each object. Some light for these books, and this one as well on the front. And then a little bit of light on this pillow. And this one as well. You see here it looks like light purple, and here it's like an orangey color. Then also for our slippers, little light edge. A little bit of light on this part of the mattress. And then I think we have everything. Now we are going to add some extras, like lights on this little garland on our balcony, and some lights on this mirror. So let's make a new layer for that. We are going to put it on top of our furniture layer. Oh, by the way, let's rename this layer. Let's name this Furniture Lights. Now let's make a new layer on top of the furniture line art. So tap the plus. So this layer should be on top of all the layers, but underneath the curtains layers. And now for our brush, we are going to use the monoline brush. And the opacity of this brush is at 100%, and we'll set the size to 100% as well. Then for our color, we are going to use this 4th color in the 3rd row. And now let's go over here and add some of these lights by just making these dabs just along the garland. And of course we need to tidy it up a little bit. Let's go to the eraser. It's already set to the dry ink, which is great. because now we can go over these edges and tidy some parts up. Here we should erase some, and over here as well. Then over here. And here we are actually fine. All right, now for the mirror. We are going to use the monoline brush again, but a different color. We are going to use this one over here, which is the 5th color in the 3rd row. And first, let's add lights to the corners, like this. Then let's make one in the center here, and then in between. Try to create an equal distance between these lights, so you'd get something like this. And now it's time to turn the lights on. We'll go to the magic wand, then we'll go to bloom, and then just slide to the right with your pen or your finger to turn on the lights. You can play around with the burn. You could turn it up a little bit to make it even brighter. So let's say 55%. You can also change the size. I don't want it to be too big, so let's go for 30% or 29. And the total bloom is at 86% in this case. And then just tap the magic wand again. Next, let's add some glass over here. We are going to add some glass underneath our lights. That should be on a layer underneath the light. So tap the furniture layer and tap the plus. And then go to the base layer and set that to reference. Then we'll go back to that new layer, which will be the glass. And then for the color, we'll grab this color over here, the 8th color in the 2nd row, and let's just drag it in. And there, and there, and there. Then we'll go back to the layer, we'll tap the N, and we'll set the opacity to 40%. Now I'll make another layer on top of the lights. So first tap the lights layer, let's name it lights, then tap the plus, and again, let's set this layer to 40% in opacity, just like the other one. We can do that in advance, and I'll drag in the color in this area and over here. And we do need to go over this a line. Color that in like this. And now we have some nice glass. Let's add some touches to that glass. So let's do that on a new layer. Let's tap the plus. For the color, we'll grab this one, 6th color in the 3rd row. And for our brush, we are going back to the inking brushes and use the dry ink brush. And let's just make some of these diagonal lines, just some strokes to give this the suggestion that it's glass. Because otherwise, of course, people would fall off the balcony. We do need some glass to protect them. And here on the mirror as well. Then for some final lighting effects, let's go ahead and create a new layer on top of all the others. Let's tap the plus. And over here, let's set the layer blending mode to screen. Another layer blending mode, which is great to add light. Then we are going to use a different color. We are going back to this one, that 5th color in the 3rd row. But before we start painting, we are going to make a selection. We'll go to the S shape ribbon, set it to freehand, and turn off color fill in case that's turned on. Then we'll start in this corner of our lights. Then we'll go to around this area, then over here, then to this bottom part, then back up, and then close the selection. Then we'll go and grab a different brush. We'll go to the airbrushing brushes and use the soft brush. Now for this brush, let's set the opacity to 60%. And let's set the size to 40%. Now let's go over this area here. Just gently adding some light here. Just very gently. And then tap the S shape ribbon again, then we'll go to the magic wand, use Gaussian blur, and slide to the right a little bit. Let's go for something like this, 8%. And then of course you can go to the layer menu, you can tap the S, and you can play around with the opacity. For instance, you could set it to 70%. I think that's nice and subtle. And then we'll do the same thing for the light that's coming through the window. But in this case, we are going to add some warm light. We'll do that on a new layer. So tab the plus. Let's set this to screen as well. And for this one, we'll use this color, that fourth color in the third row. It's a nice warm yellow. And again, we'll make selection. So first tap the S shib ribbon. Let's start in this corner, go in this direction, then go down here, back to this corner, back up, and then close the selection. Then grab the brush and paint over this area, creating a nice little gradient. Then we'll tap the S shib ribbon again and again, and we'll do the same here for the door. Let's start in that corner, then go over here, then go over here, then to the bottom of the door here, then to this corner and close the selection. Then grab the brush, go over here, add that light, tap the S shib ribbon, and then let's blur it. Let's go to the magic wand and to Gaussian blur, slide to the right for that nice soft look, and then go to the layer menu, tap the S, and let's lower the opacity. For instance, to 55%. When you have that sunlight coming through your window, you might see some dust particles. So let's add those. It'll add that extra magic touch, or maybe it's a little bit dirty. I don't know. You might feel like your room is magical or that you need to clean it up. I don't know. But I think it adds a nice extra touch. So let's add a new layer by tapping the plus. And then for our brush, we are going to the luminance brushes and use the light pen. And then for our color, let's grab this one, 6th color in the third row. Now the opacity of the brush is at 100% and the size is at 25%. And in some random spots, let's add these dust or magical particles. Dust does look magical in the right light. So just some particles like this. It adds a nice little touch over here as well. Right in those sun rays. Just a few. And then once you have added those, you are done. You have created a lovely, cozy, isometric bedroom. If you haven't checked out the other isometric drawing tutorials yet, then do be sure to check those out as well. Now, if you have enjoyed following this tutorial, which I hope you did, we did spend quite some time together, then you might want to turn it into a streak. Do be sure to grab a drink first though, and perhaps you want to get started with this tutorial. I would like to thank you for watching. Thank you for your wonderful support. Don't forget to share your work and share your thoughts on this tutorial in the comment section, of course. I will see you next time for the next tutorial.